How you doing, Mr. Mayor?
Very good, very good. If you haven't met yet, this is Tony, part of our legal team. Achi, also a part of our legal team. They've both been writing quite a bit of legislation. And then Captain Turner over here, who is liaison to the LSPD.
Yep, he was, Mr. Turner was one of my captains when I first was hired.
Oh, shit. Hell yeah.
Yep.
We have started discussion with, we're going to have another discussion with PD High Command, but the Turner's helping this office get insight for things that I may not see or consider whenever we're talking about, like, you know, PD related things, interfacing with the civilians, etc., etc. So big help.
Excellent. Always a pleasure to work with you, sir.
Yep.
Always looked up to you for your leadership and everything when I first started as well. So great to work with you again.
All right.
You as well.
If I may say real quick, congratulations to both of you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Archie.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Right. So, $50,000, I think, to a officer, or $100,000 to a officer for the hags.
Yep.
Generally,
I got Espinosa's info for Aries today.
Easy. Could you like email that to me? I think what I would need is like their name, their state ID, the suspect, and the is it or is it not a hag? You know.
Okay.
And I think that should be enough so that when I send it, it's like all in the transaction. Fundamentally, it would be a matter of public record, so I think we should be good. With just, you know, whether it's hag or not. I know that it was raised like cuffs and this and that. Like, is any of that really a problem?
I don't like the cuff shit. I don't like it.
Yeah, what is that? It's confusing. You're either serving a warrant or you're not serving a warrant.
Well, the issue is when you have various people jumping in on calls and then actually running for said suspect to slap cuffs on him, it's fucking stupid and can cause
What does that mean?
people to get hurt. What do you mean, like actually putting the cuffs on him?
You're gonna have to explain that to me. I don't.
Nino, right? What the fuck? What? People run in and throw their cuffs on people mid pursuit of somebody. Does that make sense?
What?
I'm not.
While they're on their feet, while they're
Wait,
running,
hold up.
moving?
No, I am just saying, I have absolutely had to fight for a freaking 95 before. That was right in front of me. Okay.
Oh my god.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm confused.
Oh my god, Nino.
No. I get. Okay, let me put it a different way. Are people doing cringe shit like steal, like trying to get money and just slap cuffs so that it's theirs?
I am telling you, yes, it has happened. And when we say that this is what it's based on, that's going to happen. And so I don't prefer that.
Here's the beauty. You guys are captains. You can confer with your high command. But from the perspective of a legal matter, warrants are served by officers. Charges are pressed by officers. The individuals whom are maintaining a scene should be the deciders of who is processing who. If the LSPD, this is a recommendation, right? Like, please do talk to high command about it. This is not like, yo, Nino's coming in and telling you how to do shit type shit. But from my perspective, like, if law enforcement, if you've got like a cash exchange, you are the person that knows everything about it, is leading it. You should be the decider as to everything that happens with that scene. The reason being that if that goes to court, the liability is on the person, right? And those who are processing, not someone who's putting magical cuffs on. Like, the cuffs are not RS. The cuffs are not PC.
DOJ had offered a reward for certain people, and that's kind of where
they can suck a dick.
From.
They have no authority over it.
Right.
So,
what I'm saying is it caused an issue, and we're not doing that. I don't care who cuffed it. Anybody. Whoever's running the operation and is in charge of the operation is going to be the one who gets the reward, and then they can split it how they want, whatever.
Did this happen a while ago or like recent?
No, this just fucking happened.
Okay. for the sake of public safety, I would very much make that really clear in whatever the messaging is. That, oh my God, oh my God. Oh. I'm like throwing up in my mind right now. What happened?
You'll have protocol for cuffing, chasing a suspect, and who gets a suspect, you know, who's processing the suspect, right? You have SOPs for that?
What? If we're running a TRT op, sure. But when it's like free for all and both departments are involved, you know, anybody can run up and do whatever. And it's happened. And I'm just saying I don't want that issue. So
you know what?
I'm not gonna be doing it that way.
You know, I agree with you. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we'll be fine though.
Yeah.
But again, like yesterday, we were chasing somebody with a warrant, and it's like, you know, sometimes people don't join till it's a crazy pursuit, and then you got the people who drive the faster cars. Well, Radic, who usually drives the faster cars? Pursuit unit, right? And what department are they usually in? So it tends to be an issue when we get after these faster cars and we can't keep up with them because we don't have people in cars fast enough to keep up with them. So we have to branch outside of our own department.
Agreed. Well, you guys have the jurisdictional authority. My recommendation is, you know, nothing stops you guys from making it very clear why this is a legal matter, a matter of public safety, and exposes like the department to liabilities if people are doing cringe shit. Like I'll be straight up with you. If I heard that someone was doing that, right, especially outside of your whatever, like we'd have to take action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
sounds like both departments need to get on the same page, at least in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Like, this is a recent thing, right? This isn't like a protocol thing?
As far as what? Grabbing 95s? That's been an ongoing thing.
What's the motivator?
Yeah.
Their department needs money.
Yeah, the money.
Okay.
Grab them
Well,
and put all BCSO officers on the 95s so that they all go up north. That's been a common thing.
Yeah, I mean, well,
at least the high profile ones. I've seen it happen a couple of times. People going back and forth over who cuffed them versus who took them to the hospital, who's processing.
Yep, it's ridiculous.
If this, look, you have our support. If this becomes a problem and a matter of public safety and you feel like it's starting to enter into that space, I will let you know that we already have people on board outside of just my office in law enforcement that have already investigated this space, and we have the option to file a civil lawsuit over dereliction of duty mixed with the lack of restitutions to Los Santos County. So if that is happening at the, if public safety for money is happening, there will be no budget left over there, is what I'm trying to say. So,
and I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of officers over here don't understand and don't care. But, obviously us, we're aware, we see it, we know. And, we're not trying to cause waves, but I definitely try to have it split down the middle at least. So there's no, takeover, because that does happen often.
Does... I might be able to miss on this. Does
fuck?
LSPD not have its own, pursuit unit?
No.
It's not... Wait, is it a pursuit thing, or am I tripping?
It's
Where did the pursuit come in?
But we have officers that struggle to get trained or looked at with the unit. So,
right.
yeah.
trained or looked at? What do you mean by
both?
looked at?
Like they have to get. Apparently, they have to be watched by members of the pursuit unit for that shift, observed, and then they can get trained and possibly get certed. An officer yesterday told me they had reached out to somebody multiple times, but then over the course of I'm not sure how long, but I think as of last night did receive a text back. But this has been ongoing issue since Nino's been in office, to be honest.
Who runs the pursuit unit?
For LSPD, it would be Bradford. And for
bro,
the BCSO,
I didn't know it was like this.
But
This is
only,
so
he
fucked.
can only deal with shift 2 people. So my shift 1 people can't go to Bradford.
Right, yeah.
So that,
is he the overall LSPD lead? Or is he just
I
shift
don't.
2?
He told Arnold Frost that he couldn't help him.
That whoa.
Which is ridiculous.
As someone who was part of those conversations, Bradford was the lead.
Yeah, the overall
of the
department
LSPD.
lead, correct? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not tripping.
I don't know what the issue is.
I think, well, I'll tell you, y'all's comms suck, which I think we all agree with, right? So
then he doesn't even know he's the lead over. Well, I guess I'll have to inform him today.
Y'all, double check with Moss and Peters, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't just take my word for it, obviously, but hey, you guys are empowered now, right? I'm sure there's some of these issues that you're bringing up, right?
Oh yeah, we're gonna get it sorted.
Y'all got this. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I walked into that room, and there's like 15, 20 of you guys. Y'all are fucking up good. You know what I mean? And Radic, I'm very glad to see you. And you know my opinion after Thanksgiving. I saw you on a bike with other members of LSPD. You didn't have to be. The event was down here, and you joined in because there was like 20, 30 some odd civilians who were about to run up the highway in a big citywide event, county event, statewide event, and that to me spoke volumes. So seeing someone like yourself with your mental is a good thing, and obviously Maxwell, you know how I feel about your abilities. So yeah. If you ever need the mayoral whip, if shit's happening, do not hesitate to ask. We have cabinets full of stuff ready to go if needed. So,
I really appreciate that. I really look forward to working with you and your cabinet and everybody who you need me to.
Yep.
And I've always seen it as there's two different departments. People are going to have different patches on their arm, but we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. And I try to support everybody who is accomplishing that same thing.
Okay.
And make sure the ones who aren't, again, regardless of the patch on their arm, are trying to improve themselves and better themselves in their service to the people. So.
All right, beautiful. Hey,
I got a question for you then. Why was there turmoil between the sheriff's department and the LSPD then, while you were sheriff?
Well, I am only one person, and I was put in some positions where putting my foot down would have required a purging of the department, right? And so I was put in a place where, sure, I had the authority and the position to, suspend, release, whatever it was, terminate someone. But that quickly, like I said, would become a purge, right? I was constantly threatened with, well, if you do this or you do that, everyone will just stop coming on duty. So I had to kind of walk a tightrope there, right? I had to keep the department functioning while the people in the department didn't want to see eye to eye with the LSPD, a lot of them. And I'm sure there's people in the LSPD that don't want to see eye to eye with the BCSO, but here are my two options is the way I saw it. Either I could have a department where me and maybe a handful of other people are the only ones on duty, and what's the point of doing that, right? What's the point of wrecking balling a department just to have an empty meeting room and 3 people on duty that you see over? Or try to play the game of politics and try to improve relations, well, to be honest, pissing off the department, which it did. There's no denying that. A lot of the folks in the BCSO were very hesitant to change. They didn't want to see eye to eye or try and fix that burned bridge. And like I said, I'm sure I know it goes both ways. I don't want to just put all the blame on one department, but It was a very precarious position that I was put in, and I'm no victim of that. I chose to take the position. I could have said, no, thank you, Mr. Pratt. I don't want it. But I thought I could improve those relations, and you know what? It didn't prove fruitful. So that part's on me.
I see. Who is threatening you?
I love
with,
Turner.
You know.
Oh shit! Yo!
Not coming on duty.
Yeah.
Were those specific deputies? Was that a group of them? How
Turner,
did that work?
No,
chill.
it was more of it wasn't a specific deputy who said if you do this or that, I'll never come on duty again. It was more like the command staff, when we would speak about decision making or have meetings about it, would mention like, well, if you do that, people are just going to stop coming around, or they're going to go work G6 and go fishing or whatever. It was kind of like a cautionary warning. And then when I finally said, you know what, if that's how people are going to be, and they don't want to follow standards or try and improve relations, and their opinion is I'll just go work G6 or fishing, then good luck to them. They don't need a job in the BCSO. And when I said that, then it was, you know, I don't know. There was a lot of back and forth with even some of my own high command and command staff and such. They just didn't see eye to eye with me. And like I said, replacing all of the command staff, or a far majority of it, would have pretty much killed all morale. And again, it put me in a position I can either try and be an effective leader or have that happen, right?
I see. Seems like you're put in a tough position, but when did you make that decision to just, take that stance? At what point in your tenure?
That was about, I'd say halfway through, about a month in after initially when I came in, right off the go, right? A lot of people were very skeptical about me taking the position. I was appointed by Pred, which didn't really make things great. A lot of the BCSO did not like Pred as mayor, and for good reasons. He did come in the room and tell people that they're idiots, that he's going to lower their pay, that they're useless, stuff like that. And of course, that's going to down morale. So they had a grudge with Pred, and then they saw that as, well, Pred replaced Bones on a whim and picked a guy who was a deputy, who wasn't part of their already established command staff and everything. They saw me kind of as an outsider, if you will. And I think they were very worried about me wrecking balling the department for Pred, which never happened. It was never asked of me or anything like that. So I guess I don't know. I like you said, it was a tough position to be put in, because the initial weeks, I'd say the first 2 or 3 weeks, I really just had to work on getting the ship to stop. I didn't want to rock the boat too much and lose the support right off the get-go, because that was going to be very ineffective, right?
What support? You didn't have support.
Well, like I'm saying, this was in the beginning of my tenure as sheriff. In the beginning, I thought that I could gain that support and smooth things over and improve relations. Now, I would say from a command and a high command standpoint, we did improve relations. Aspen and I, when I was the sheriff, had a lot of conversation with the LSPD high command, and we discussed a lot of issues, and we were able to resolve those and come and see eye to eye on it. It was more about the field staff, the field staff not getting along, and some people feeling slighted and all that. And there's a culture there, a lot of folks there. It's more about, I don't know. The ranking structure in the BCSO is odd, and I'll say it this way.
Oh my God!
You can have command members, but if you have another member who's, let's say, a deputy, who is somehow more respected than that command member, they'll listen to that deputy first, because that person is closer to them.
You mean like Nakota, who dropped down from lieutenant to deputy, but still thought he was running shit? Is that what you're talking about?
And then sat on the panel for who the next sheriff's selection would be.
Right.
Are you talking
did
about?
I call it or what?
Are you talking about that specific person giving out orders, or the people around him listening to him more than the current staff?
It's a friend group, okay, guys. It's that's all it is. They all support each other, the same fucking 5-6 people, and that's it. That's how it is.
I
I like to call it a country club.
I wanna keep hearing what Regis has to say, because I have similar opinions, but
I'm gonna go to interviews.
Yeah, please.
You guys don't need me.
Hey, let me know if you need the
hold it down in this front.
Absolutely. Let us know if you need the loaded gun, yeah? Legislatively.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have a great day, and I'm gonna go sit down. And I probably won't be around much longer. I'm gonna be honest. I've been battling a fever. For 2 days, so.
You got a guest coming in a couple hours?
Well, I'm gonna go sit and hydrate and eat lunch and
all right,
try to survive longer.
All right,
take care of yourself.
Sounds good.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you guys.
All right.
Oh, go ahead, Mr.
No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt what you're saying.
I was just gonna finish my thoughts on what Turner was asking me, and that's honestly taking the sheriff position. A lot of it was managing people's opinion and the optics of it, because the BCSO is very much so a department that responds to those, right? I'd say the LSPD is much less so. That they see somebody who's a captain, they don't think, that's Mateo Radic, he was a deputy, he doesn't deserve it. I'm sure, you know what, I'm sure some people will see it that way, but they're still gonna listen and do their job. Where in the BCSO, like I said, if I really put my foot down and pushed for something that was not popular, or something that, you know, the command staff or the group of people who were before me leading the department didn't agree with, it quickly, like I said, turned into a situation where mutiny was pretty much brought up. And I just didn't want to lose the entire department. I didn't want to make that decision that would make a majority of people not come on duty, because again, that makes me an ineffective leader. Correct?
Tough question. It sounds like they were leading you and you weren't leading them.
Agreed.
So I'm going to be quite frank here.
Yeah.
My main concern was making sure that the day-to-day operations of the BCSO remained constant, that those people are out there doing their jobs, arresting people, stopping crime, taking care of the things they needed to do. It was less about whether people respected me or not, and more about the service to the citizens of the county, and, you know, working with the mayor's office and everything. And like I said, I was able to make progress with the LSPD High Command, and I was able to make progress with the LSPD and improve relations, even with the BCSO. Aspen helped me with that as well, so I don't want to just take, you know, sole credit for that. But I wouldn't say that so much they were running it and I was, you know, they were leading me and I wasn't leading them. It was more of I get what he's saying. Resistance to the leadership, if you will. A resistance to someone who, honestly, I feel like they saw as kind of an outsider. Even though I was in the department and a deputy and worked with all these people side by side. And it's odd because I consider a handful of those people my friends, you know, even away from work. And I still do. I don't know if they still do, but it was a very surprising reaction. I'll put it that way. I didn't think there'd be so much resistance and hesitance to it, but you know, that's just the way it was. Like I said, I was trying to keep the boat on course, essentially. And I feel like I was able to do that. The BCSO did do their job. They continued to function every day, and we had good numbers, and we had decent morale. I'd say up until about, I don't know, the last 2 weeks or so, things took a real bad turn in the last 2 weeks. And I'm not sure if it was because the elections, and they could see this opportunity to get me, you know, either replaced or removed or whatever by the new mayor, or what, but it does feel like a lot of folks just turned their back on me in that position in the last couple of weeks there. So that did.
Can you explain what you
transfer.
mean by that?
Very little communication from my command. I almost felt like there were decisions being made that I wasn't being referenced on, and I brought that up with folks, and they said, "Oh, well, you know, we didn't mean to do this, or we didn't mean to not communicate that with you." And it was kind of around that time. So before the election, I was at the academy, and Trig and Chief Moss, as well as myself and Aspen, had a conversation. And the conversation did not go well. Moss and Trig and Aspen didn't really see eye to eye, and it turned into a back and forth. And then Moss and Trig left, and Trig called me up and said, "Hey, it seems to me like you just can't get anybody to work with you, and I feel for you. That's got to be an entirely hard position to be in. We do value, you know, your leadership and the way you operate and everything, and we think you'd be a good fit if you wanted to come over as a captain and help us with our leadership team." And I'll be honest, even before the election, I debated resigning and taking that position. I see more stability in this department, I see more support. Now, again, I don't want to throw Mumbles under the bus because he just got the position, and I'm sure he'll do great.
Dang!
But at least from the last mayor's office, not to
Okay.
trash credit or anything, at least through my tenure, we didn't have a ton of support or communication.
You know,
with the
maybe I
mayor's
will
office,
take credit for all
mainly
this.
because
I'm kidding.
He was
I'm
busy
kidding.
or he wasn't around, and his cabinet also was in that position, and or just wasn't empowered to come and kind of chip in on the BCSO, right? Where with the LSPD, I mean, right here is a great example. I'm having a conversation with the mayor, his cabinet, his advisors, and that constant open communication it's huge for the department. It really is.
Yeah.
Having your oversight, having essentially your boss, right? Now I understand Mayor Chavez here is Daisy's boss, right? Is Chief Moss's boss at the end of the day, and then she is our boss. But really, truly, that's not how I see that. I see it. If Mr. Chavez walks up to me and says, "Hey, Captain, this is not okay. Like, this is not okay for the citizens of Los Santos. What's going on here needs to change." That needs to change. It doesn't have to be some sort of like convoluted, pass it down through the chain all the time. You know, it can be a direct conversation, and I value those a lot. And that's something that BCSO hasn't had, at least while I was sheriff. I hope they get that from Mumbles and his cabinet in the future, but that was also something that really held us back.
That's understandable. I mean, I'll let you know at a high level, and there, we are working to get some sort of like expectation sheet, like from us, written, agreed upon by, you know, Moss and Peters and shared with high command. The idea being that, like, you know, high level things like public safety is a big thing for me, because for me, it makes the city feel alive, if that makes sense. Right. Yep. Someone getting shot is meaningful. Someone getting taken hostage is meaningful.
Yes.
Agree. Like what I heard about like this cuff shit makes me want to throw up, because it makes me feel like I'm in a video game. You know what I mean? Like when things are bigger than that, you know?
Yep.
If you have any problems and needs from the mayor's office, any kind of support, please do let us know.
Of course.
We want to be available to you and help give governmental guidance, right? When things are happening in the city, we want to empower you guys, kind of like with the warrant thing, right? I heard in the meetings you have a lot of warrants open. Some of them are hog-related charges. We want to be able to come in and be like, okay, we want to put more behind this, so a warrant apprehension is not the equivalent to a 24/7 robbery. You know what I mean?
Yes. I will say, and again, not to sit here and throw shade back at the department. I was just, you know, overseeing and running, but you talk about public safety and those kind of things, and even safety for the other officers, right? One of the things I brought up, and I was really, really adamant about, was that we need to be better about responding to 78's calls. So many people would be on a call, like you said, chasing a stolen vehicle, right? No violence involved. No one's shot anybody or has any hostages. No one's life is at stake. Someone's vehicle is at stake. An officer 78's, and you have these people who, they're on a channel, they'll switch over to a different channel and go, are we needed? That is not the response for 78's. As soon as that happens, you need to break off of what you're doing and go help that person. And the argument was, well, sometimes people just get chopped on the back of the neck and it's called code 4, and then we let the criminal get away. Okay?
Who cares? It's a fucking...
Respond to the next fucking call that you need to respond to then. I mean, it happens. You went and saved somebody's life. You went and backed up an officer, another person out here that would hopefully have your back in the same way. And when you start setting the example of, we'll pick and choose which 78s we respond to, or we'll pick and choose which, you know what I mean, life-threatening calls we respond to, it really starts spinning out of control. You can see that the vision is lost.
What is happening? What is... This is worse than I thought. Wow. Some things that I want to...
That's not good.
No, 100% not. I feel like there's a couple things that I did want to let you know in the event it changes your calculus. Obviously, Pred and I have been close for some time, and we're very close, talking about the things that we could do for both departments between the counties. We had a lot of good plans, right? Things that would make more vibrancy. Producer-consumer model, right? Things get produced in Blaine County. You know, they get brought down here. A border that was not intended for, like, all the cringe shit I hear, but rather, like, even something for PD to do. For example,
'Cause,
I think, there's a lot of illicit moonshine making its way into the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want, like, having checkpoints, having, like a truck come through and y'all having the ability to pull it over and, like, hey, do you have a license for it, right? Like, you know, things like that. Like, it adds more vibrancy beyond what currently exists, right? That is what the mayor's office is enabled to create. I will say that some of the threats that I know sounded like Pred came into... Pred was actually the nicest he could have been. I would have been a bigger asshole, if I'm going to be honest. As someone who was one of his close confidants, y'all's budget, and likely continues to be, so in the negative as a consequence of the amount of deputies that exist in relation to how much money is being brought in. Keep in mind that there's no direct restitution that occurs in the way our state budgeting is. If Blaine County has 50 cops and they all did 1,000 arrests, the county doesn't benefit. They only accrue the cost of the 50 deputies. Does that make sense? However, the liability that could come with it, which is if you sue the PD, has a consequence on where the crime occurred. You know what I mean? And that's been one of the big political things that I've never been able to get across to BCSO, is that I don't hate them. I've never hated them naturally. It's that I, as the mayor, am liable for another department coming in and doing fuck shit. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep.
Pred also recognized that. And the reason that some of the things he was trying to do, it was to balance the budget. But equally, Bones was never ousted. I don't know if you were ever made aware to this. Pred I actually recommended that you be given a shot. And he put you up. And
really?
Yes. And it wasn't right away. He wanted to give both Bones and Cassidy a shot. And Bones and Cassidy told him to suck a dick. So it wasn't like he was like, fuck them. He genuinely, hot to God, wanted to give them a chance. And they told him to suck a dick. So I know things can be perceived a certain way because, you know, most people weren't privy to that conversation, but that's exactly what went down. Like, he genuinely tried to, wanted a working relationship. And his giving up was, you know, there was the warrant, right? When he became mayor, immediately issued by Bruce. Fucking nasty. That's an abuse of power. He's lucky no one went after him for it. And then obviously what happened with the whole Marshals thing, which I don't know if you're aware of this. You can see it on the docket, in which the Marshals at the time actually knew it was an active weed operation. Owned by Sonia Summers, in which they were selling drugs and actively knew who her drug dealers were. And the property was purchased late at night. Fred went to sleep, wasn't around the next day. A warrant for a search and seizure was filed. It was portrayed as though it was an LSPD operation over hot guns. It was not. I know because I've spoken to both of those officers. It was pushed by the Marshals under Director Angel's rule. She threatened McNee to sign it, despite McNee and Grayson with an A saying the warrant wasn't good enough. And you can read the warrant yourself. It's one of the most dog shit warrants I've read in my life. So at the threat of being removed as a judge, it was signed. And then he was caught up in a whole thing for 6 weeks. And then finally, you know, on top of all this, there was a feeling that he couldn't work with the BCSO, and he gave up. So that's his POV, you know. I know he's not here, but I would, you know, that's what's up. So
well, first of all, thank you very much for doing that. I honestly, until this point right now, thought that was a completely random event, that I was just standing outside the BCSO and he walked up to me and, you know, said what he said and said he thinks I'd be the right pick for the job. And that came out of nowhere for me. So I had no idea that, there were any conversations beforehand about it. I appreciate that.
No, there was a lot. He wanted to do kind of like what Mumbles did, right? But he wanted to give himself enough bandwidth and just be like, hey, Bones, Cassidy, let's like work together, like figure out the budget, and then probably do something similar to what Mumbles is doing today. But the reaction that he got from his direct subordinates was just like, suck my dick, we're going to do whatever we want. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And, you know, the part you mentioned about Pred, trying to put the right foot forward and try and start things off and work with the BCSO and it becoming just too much of a challenge and too much resistance. I can empathize with that. I came in with the same idea, right? I told everybody, look, my door is open. You can come to me and be as honest as you want. I'm not going to take anything personal. If you need to crash out, whatever. But I want to know people, you know, their real opinions and how they really feel. You don't need to sit here and try and pretend everything's good and great in front of the sheriff and then go turn around and complain about things or have issues that are not being resolved, right? And I said, look, I'm not coming in here to wrecking ball the department. I'm not coming in here to try and flip it on its head. I'm not going to... There was a lot of reassurances that I tried to give. And even through that, and even through the actions where I showed them that I was, you know, I'm on your side. I'm here in these trenches with you, and this is what I'm here to do. The resistance still just stayed. And I honestly wonder if whoever is the next sheriff is going to be accepted as well, unless it's someone who they already trust and consider one of their friends.
Yeah, it's a tough
terrible
position.
Culture to foster, from what I'm gathering.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a culture where the people below you always be like, "Oh, you're doing something I don't want you to do. Well, here's the nuclear button. I'm going to continuously press until you give me my way."
I think the next sheriff needs to come in there and start putting boots to ass. Either get in line or get out of line.
Yep.
I agree with it, but they would be taking on a majority chunk of the department that way. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Look, Turner, that's the point I got to with it as well. And when I went with that and I said, you know what? If I'm going to be threatened with people want to go fishing and go work G6, and congratulations.
Can I get names?
Like I said, it was never leveled at me from like a certain officer or deputy. It was never like they walked in and said, if you do this, I'm not going to do that.
Here, if I'm going to be honest.
That's a fair point. It was more of a vague kind of threat, right? Of, oh, the entire department, or you know, you're going to lose so many deputies on duty, they just won't come around anymore. Was constantly the vague kind of tone that was thrown when I would make.
I got you.
Put my foot down.
Like this could happen, and it's left you like, will they actually, you know, are you about to ESB them but unintentionally type shit?
Yeah. I'm just gonna say that's some very mafia style tactics. Be like, oh, you know, you might have some problems if you don't do things a certain way. Don't feel right.
That's a great way to put it. It was like, oh yeah, you know, you can do this because you're the sheriff, but if you do, nobody will be on duty. You know, you got to think about that. And it's like, well, like I said, I got to the point where I just told the command staff in a meeting, like, if these people don't want to respond to 78s and come do basic police work, and they'd rather go work for G6, then good luck. I can't help those, you know, I can't help that attitude. I can't change it. I can't make somebody believe, you know, in a leadership style or a department. And if they want to switch their career, who am I to tell them not to, you know? And then that, of course, was received very poorly. It's like, oh, so you're just going to tell everybody that they should fuck off and you'll, you know, get rid of them?
Who said that to you? Who responded to you like that?
This is all in a command meeting. I'd have to actually like kind of deeply
your staff,
think about
your command staff.
Correct. The command, yes, 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 the command staff.
How many people agreed with you in your staff?
Well, it really depended on the decision or what we were talking about, but generally,
we're talking about the current subject.
Oh, this specific one. No, to be honest with you, I in that meeting, I'd have to think about
what
who
in
agreed,
the actual fuck?
In that meeting,
bro.
The majority of the command staff disagreed with the points I was making. And here's the reason why they disagreed. They weren't disagreeing with the fact that standards should be raised or enforced. They weren't disagreeing with the fact that we could be better. They were disagreeing with it because it was under the guise of the BCSO and LSPD allowing each other's command staffs to punish and handle issues no matter which department was involved or where the call or scene was, and pretty much empowering command from both departments to do their job across both departments. I thought it was something that was it was progress, right? I thought it was a good idea. Why would we not want our command staff empowered? And then they said, well, you can't let the LSPD punish BCSO. They'll just make it a personal thing and go after the people they don't like. They're just going to attack us and make problems all day. And I said, well, that isn't what's being said. And the only officers or deputies, and I reiterated this, they have to worry are that bottom 10% who just don't do their fucking job and don't take feedback and don't change.
Sounds like their personal insecurities there are coming out.
Yeah, I was about to say the word is, I was about to say word of the day is projection.
But the real issue with it was, at the end of the day, was the fact that I was considering working with the LSPD and their command and allowing, and even when I brought up the fact, well, this is also allowing you, all of you in the command of BCSO, to also handle these issues and tackle these issues and deal with the LSPD. They're showing that trust towards us to let our people, and then the attitude was, well, the LSPD just wants us to come down there and do their job for them because we have all the good command staff.
Yeah. I'm gonna step away for a moment.
Believe me, when I tell you that I really did try to become an effective sheriff and try to rein the department, I really did. I had to walk a tightrope. I had to sometimes be more of a negotiator or a mediator than the sheriff, and then sometimes I had to put my foot down. And you know what? Neither avenue worked, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
Question for you.
Sure.
Was your tenure as sheriff successful? Or was it a failure in your eyes?
Well,
sorry about that.
There's no in between. It's one or the other.
No. I understand. I'm thinking of, because I'll be honest with you, I haven't really had the time to sit down and think about that yet. Right? I just stepped away from the position yesterday. You know, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you that it was a success because we kept people on duty. We kept the job getting done on the street. There weren't a lot of issues as far as actual patrol work, minus, like I said, bringing up some of the 78 stuff and that. But at the end of the day, the department did stay on duty. They showed up to work. They continued to function. That's really the primary function of the sheriff, right? Is to make sure the BCSO is doing their job. And they were doing their job. It was the internal workings and the internal drama that weighed, my ability as sheriff down to make change. But I wouldn't consider that a failure. I would say if I lost control of the department, if the department did actually mutiny, or I had 2 people on duty all the time and the department fell apart, that would be a failure. Did it benefit me? No, it didn't benefit me as the sheriff to I don't know what the right word for it is, but that fence sitting that I had to do, it only punished me. But the department kept running and the people kept coming on duty, so I would say that was a success.
All right. I know it's easy for us to sit here and Monday night quarterback everything and critique everything, not in the moment and after the fact. So I do appreciate you answering these questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
definitely,
hey.
Definitely shed some light on the situation and gives a different point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I'm very, very open to constructive feedback and criticisms. I don't take things personally. I'm more than happy to hear where I can improve, and I seek that knowledge. It doesn't matter what rank I ever held, whether it was the top, somewhere in between, or deputy officer. It doesn't matter. If there's something I can be doing that's better and someone sees that and is willing to come to me and have a constructive conversation on it, I'll always accept that feedback and be thankful for it. So there's no conversations I'm not willing to have, put it that way. And nobody has to worry about me or my feelings, because that's not going to be something that I allow to change my professional demeanor.
It's good.
Yeah.
Nino, you have anything?
No, this is there's like things I speculate on, right? And then there's like hearing from you, Radic. I'm sort of beside myself. I've been beside myself ever since the handcuff conversation, I'm gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't even aware of the fact that people were being cuffed. Well, not Yeah, I don't even know how to explain that.
I do not want to see that happening. I need to cook on that topic. I really do. And I hope you guys can resolve it without us having to step in. But like, that's so fucking weird. I don't even understand how that's legal. Right?
I feel like there just needs to be an understanding between departments at this point. I know we've said this before, and but there needs to be an understanding that if an incident takes place in the city or jurisdictionally speaking, LSPD has control of it. Just process at LSPD.
Yeah.
BCSO has control of it. It's their jurisdiction. Let them process in BCSO, including LSPD officers in BCSO and BCSO in city.
1000%.
I understand that that's implications money-wise, but I mean, if both sides had an understanding there, it wouldn't matter who slapped the cuffs on them at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see right, just from that example alone, right? Something that should be motivation.
Damn, Turner!
Everything.
He's not wrong! I didn't even say that!
A very
I didn't even say that.
Not right. It becomes.
It's Turner is such a validation because like
over money, and that should be the last.
It's such a it validates so heavy.
These folks should be doing that.
That shouldn't be climbing the chain. If they're in it for the money, that you're in the wrong line of work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
man, it's crazy what common sense. Like it's like shocking to hear, but then it's like, but it's common sense.
And put them, away. These people who have massive warrants, the top of the top when it comes
just as it would be common sense if a cop started dressing up like Superman. It was like, I'm Superman.
Damn, we did.
I'm Superman.
We did great work.
I'm Superman.
Instead, it became.
Well, the problem.
I'm getting that bounty. Woohoo! I got that money. And, I mean, I watched or listened to a conversation while I was sheriff about this exact thing. I don't remember exactly which bounty it was, but I know that it was Lieutenant York and I believe Lieutenant Ventura. And like Lieutenant York walked up to me and said, hey, that bounty is ours or whatever, right? Like we slapped the cuffs on him or something like that. And then Ventura was like, yeah, but I'm processing. I mean, I witnessed one of these kind of things happen right in front of me. Yeah, and that was between two command members.
Clarify. Ventura is
BCSO lieutenant.
Lieutenant?
Yes,
okay. And then Ruby York, lieutenant for
is
LSPD.
A lieutenant for LSPD. Okay. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she was a lieutenant again at the time. She might have been a sergeant at the time of this conversation. But again, two command members arguing over the bounty for the warrant instead of rallying everybody together and saying, hey guys, great fucking work. I'm so proud of you guys. You know what I mean? We put one of these people away. That warrant's off the books. That person's in jail. And I couldn't ask for more. It wasn't that. And that's what we need more of. Rallying the troops together, showing people that they're working as a team, that's really what needs to happen. Now, do I think that that's like a reality in the short term? I really can't speculate. It all depends on who becomes sheriff here in a couple of days and the attitude of the department and how things go from the BCSO side of things. As far as the LSPD side of things, I'll take, the personal accountability as a captain in this department now and say that I am going to push for the culture in the LSPD to sit here and congratulate each other and see that they work as a team in these trenches together. That really needs to happen so people have each other's backs more. I've planned on trying to get TRT much more active. And I think that TRT can be that lead example for the department to show people it's not about a rank. It's not about the money you're going to make from the bounty thing. It's about the people next to you on that team who you're all risking your lives to go into somewhere dangerous and capture a dangerous human being. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Were you sheriff when that took place between LSPD and BCSO, the two lieutenants?
Yes, I was sure.
How did you approach that with Ventura?
I told Ventura to not focus on the bounty, to not worry about it. Like, I'm not going to go back and forth with. I don't want people going back and forth over the money and the bounty and everything. And then, I believe, if I recall correctly, I believe Ventura came up to me later and said that he got the money, or he had went to the judge before she did and got the bounty because it was set by a judge or a justice.
So he went past you when you told him not to worry about it and went and got the money. I just want to make sure I understood that right.
Let me be clear. I didn't
How
tell
are
him not
these
to
people
worry about it. I
cops?
told him not to create some sort of grudge match about that bounty. So, correct.
Which is exactly what he did.
There was no grudge match. I don't think anybody was actually upset about it from the LSPD side of things at the end of the day. But yeah, he did remain insistent on getting the bounty and that he had captured the person.
I'm going to ask you a very direct question here.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the beneficiaries of the BCSO account? Where was that money spent?
Well, hold on a minute. What do you mean by benefit? Like the people who can access the account?
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been. I'm not exactly positive who had all of the access to it, but I know that Aspen and myself did. Ventura is the financial secretary or budget person for the BCSO, okay. So I believe he has access to it as well. Or
was
at least...
it only used on police equipment and for bonuses?
Yeah. There was nothing that I ever saw with the account. Like there was never a large amount of money that was moved or anything taken except for car parts. Generally, was the biggest expense we had.
Okay,
but nothing was ever taken for anything that was inappropriate that I saw when I was reviewing the transactions and stuff. I would check it probably every 2 to 3 days or so periodically to make sure there was nothing crazy going on with it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I didn't see any sort of mishandling of our budget at all or anybody taking funds that they shouldn't have.
The reason I bring it up, right, is obviously it's it's nice to give rewards out. It's a little different when suspects are treated like,
like a money bag pickup.
Yeah. Like a G6 truck, that someone's trying to rob, or an ammo crate. You know what I mean? Because
that's why I said it. Okay.
It fundamentally makes the arrest feel like in bad faith. You know what I mean? And not that it is, but rather it opens up the door to what it can bring out the devil on your shoulder, is what I'm trying to say, right? So as if it's like a catalyst for this cuff conversation earlier, right? Where was that warrant put up for the right reason? Were they processed with the right charges for what reason? Because you're now benefiting with certain police decision making, especially when it's tied to some sort of excitement. I don't know. I really need to wrap my head around this.
I think this is all a blessing in disguise, because now you know who to keep your eyes on. Who's there for the wrong reasons.
I will say, in that one specific instance, in most of the instances I've seen with the bounty system and people who put bounties out, it's been from judges, justices, and then obviously from the mayor's offices, mostly yours. It was on warrants and people who were already up on the board and already had, had some serious charges against them. It wasn't something that per se would have been manufactured against them or hyped up to try. It was something that was already sitting and was an outstanding and important warrant. And then someone stepped up and said, hey, let's get this wrapped up and we're going to put a bounty behind it because it's not getting wrapped up. So I don't think that anyone would have been trying to push larger warrants just for the sake of a bounty. But once the bounties were set, people definitely pushed for those. There was definitely motivation behind that money. And that's why I told
what
Ventura,
it sounds like? You ever watch the movie, the TV show, The Shield?
Yes.
Great TV show.
Yep.
But it sounds like what was the guy's name in it? Wasn't it Vic Hanna?
Yeah, it was Vic.
It sounds like some Vic Hanna shit from The Shield. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit, kind of. Very,
No, Vic Mackey.
Oh, Mac. I want to say, never mind. I knew of a Vic Hanna, but he worked here.
Vic Hanna is over here. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it was Vic, yeah. But
I need to rewatch that show. That's one of the best police shows ever made.
Yeah, that and The Wire. Both of those are outstanding.
Wire was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except season 4. That was during the writer's strike.
Yeah, 4 was fuck, that was some quicksand, huh?
Yeah. Well, they lost the right. Same thing happened with Game of Thrones to a degree.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
they
wanted to go do their Star Wars movie, and then they half-assed the scripts, and then they lost the Star Wars movie because they half-assed those scripts.
Yep. I'm gonna think very. I think I didn't want to do this before, but I think having some legislation in place to assist with making some of these things more clear would be good. I mean, I'm even contemplating that certain charges be baked in with restitution, where money goes into the LSPD account, a portion of which, like, let's say something happens in Los Santos County. The expectation is that that crime gets attached to restitution that goes back to the institutes that were damaged and the people that were hurt. The Los Santos County Restitution Fund. I'm gonna cook for a bit. I think I think there's needs to be a way to maintain some level of accountability, because at the end of the day, everyone in this circle, the LSPD, the mayor's office, those aren't here, the doctors, right, the judges, we are all at the mercy of the people, because the people are the state. You know what I mean? And we are public servants at the end of the day. And if we're not working and operating in their best interest for the safety and sanctity of them, then we're doing our job wrong, you know? So
yeah, I agree. You know, I do worry about people across both departments not seeing the bigger picture, which is we're here to serve the people of whichever jurisdiction we work for. And more importantly, the reason we answer the mayor's office is because if we're out there fucking around, either pissing people off or just not doing our job and letting people be surrendered to the criminals and the people that are violent with them, then they're going to lose faith in you as well as a mayor, and they're not going to reelect you, right? If you choose to run again, and you're going to lose votes, stuff like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's a reality for you, Mr. Savage, but I'm saying for any mayor,
they do hold it accountable. I'll let you know now. The situation with the unloading on the Hades, I have stopped 3 ambushes in the last week on the police department.
Jesus.
These groups are actually very interested in conversation, expectation, and communication, right? They're not going to change their ways. They got fucking screws loose. You know what I mean? But despite their screws being loose, violence isn't wanted as much as people think from most criminal organizations and elements around San Andreas, right? To vaguely quote someone from before the tsunami, there's a lot of anger, but when they recognize like that some of the officers are not to blame, they do not want to get in a situation where they, even though they may feel justified, want to open fire, right, and shed blood. So there is some semblance of humanity, you know what I mean? And of course. It gets scary to me if law enforcement loses any of that humanity, because there's few elements in the city that should, like that. And what am I trying to say here? The PD is like the shining beacon of humanity. It should be, right? Because if the PD starts losing its humanity, there's no one left, right?
Yeah, there's nothing that separates us from anybody else then. We're just another violent group or whatever, you know what I mean? At that point. And we don't see people... I've always reiterated this, especially as the sheriff too, that, you know, the folks we deal with, they may be criminals, but they're human beings, and that has to be taken into account. And you have to... Look, they're going to disrespect you. They're going to talk down to you. They're going to be angry. You know, of course, nobody wants to be in a pair of handcuffs, but it's your job to not take that personal and continue to, as weird as it sounds, you're still serving that person as a citizen too, right? Even though they're facing consequences, you're still serving that person, and you need to realize that is a human being. And if you disaffect them, they're not going to forget it. And the trust in the department is the trust in you as a law enforcer and your colleagues, you're punishing everybody around you involved in it when you act that way, right? Because they're going to see you as one entity, as the police, as the sheriff's office, or even just cops, whatever.
The police are the public, and the public is the police.
And once that trust is broken, it's so much harder to try and repair that. You know what I mean? And that's like going back to the bounty system. I don't want any officer or any deputy seeing a human being as a cash payday. Yes, if you do your job and you're outstanding at it and you capture a dangerous criminal who is highly wanted, you deserve some sort of accolade for that. You deserve a reward for that.
Maybe what we should do with this bounty thing is that I have LSPD lead an operation for bounties for the day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that your unit, you're in TRT, right?
Yes, sir.
Your unit in the LSPD, and per your decision from BC, like you choose who you want to take in from BCF. So I'm not trying to cut them out, but that you guys in that op get paid. Maybe that might be a smarter way to go about it. You know what I mean? Might be a good way to get people interested in TRT too. I want you to cook on this a little bit. You know what I mean? So that the focus is doing things right, as opposed to everyone and their mother being like, let me jump into the barrio because I think one of the warrant holders is over here and hope that they fire a gun at me type shit. You know what I mean? So
yes. Yeah, that's not... I will say, you know, myself and Den and Jimmy Frost, who is now not in the police department any longer, and I'm not going to touch on any of that, but we started TRT together. We were the three that, you know, drafted the SOPs, that got the original people in, and we were fostering a culture of a team, and a team that rose, like I said, above ranks or any of that stuff. When you're operating TRT, yes, there will be leadership. You'll know who is the lead, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be me just because I'm a captain, for example, right? It could be any officer that takes the lead on whatever operation we're on, and that person was to be listened to as if they were the chief of police. It doesn't matter. They were the highest rank to us in TRT. We operated kind of outside of that, right? Now, of course, if accountability falls on it, I'm going to answer up at the end of the day for what TRT did as the captain. But I want to get back to a place of that, and I want to foster that culture again. I really want to get people active again.
Hell yeah.
To set that example. Again, TRT for a while, when Den was around and I was around, we were like the 911 for the police. When they went and they got into something dangerous or something bad was happening,
I appreciate
Radic up and fucking shit up.
I'm getting so much information and taking it in.
And I don't really feel like that's there still.
Fuck.
I feel like TRT's kind of fallen by the wayside through a lot of this back and forth between the two departments, because we were a grouped unit, right? And then it was split, and different heads were given to each, you know, unit in each department and all this. But at the end of the day, I really do see a place where TRT is going to thrive right now and lead that example of operating as a team and showing people that the most important thing is having each other's back, you know?
Well, look, Radic, I appreciate so much of this, and please do not feel like anytime you need something, even if it's every day after a meeting or whatever, to reach out to us, because we do want to be there for the LSPD. I'm you know, it's y'all are my, like, on the top list of my priorities, right? If you're not getting what you need to succeed, and success being having a grasp over your county and public safety, then we're not doing it right. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I'm in total agreement. Right. And the same goes for all of you gentlemen. If there's anything I can do for you as a captain, or if there's anything that needs to be held accountable, just a discussion, I'm always open. I'm always available. I spoke with Chief Moss while talking about the position and accepting the position and offer. And she did bring up the fact that, you know, I will be seen as a contact for you and your cabinet, and to make sure that I'm ready to have those answers for accountability and everything. So yeah, anytime you need me, feel free to reach out. You want to come right along, hop in, have a chat, whatever it is, whatever's pressing or not, you just let me know. Okay.
Love it. One last thing, in terms of this bounty thing we're doing, keep tabs on it. Please speak to Haley on it. I'd love some feedback on how it went. And if there is some, like, weird shit happening, like cuffs and stuff, because then we can recook, you know, how we run it back next time.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to her a little bit more and get more of, I guess, a detail on that about what I mean, I understand what she means when she just kind of gave us the example.
Do your thing whenever you can.
All right. Sounds good, sir.
Hey, appreciate it. Hey, and welcome on board.
I appreciate it. It's a privilege to have this opportunity, and I'm going to make the most of it. I understand that there was probably some, at least, hesitation. I spoke with Peters yesterday, as well as Moss and everything, and, you know, he wanted to kind of hold me accountable and ask me about being a sheriff and some of the leadership decisions I made and everything, and I get it.
Fuck the past, Radic. Show us that you are captain material. Show your department, show the people, show the county.
Yes, sir.
All right. Easy. Have a good day.
You too. You guys have a good one. I'm going to get to those interviews and go help out Opal. So if there's anything you need, just reach out. Oh, here you.
Yep.
Let me get that.
Each one of my business cards. Yeah, there you go. There's one for you, Mr. Mayor. I think you may have had my number already. There you go, Tony. I have your number, Tony, already. I know that. And then there you go, Archie. I appreciate all of you.
All right.
Thank you for your time. Highly appreciate it. Congrats again.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, folks. I'm going to go and get to work. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Oh my God! I wanted to throw up over that handcuff thing.
I'm an emotional roller coaster right now.
I think that, let's see, because what we heard cannot be attached to a date, and we don't know if it's a pattern thing, right? Like, I know it's a pattern thing, but hearing it, like, I know this has been a problem for a minute, right? I've heard about, like, this, like, thing where, like, you get in trouble if you don't bring a suspect up north and all this other shit. I think let's take all this in. Let's see how this, like, these bounties for the warrants go. Let's see if it worked well, and sort of, like, revisit this after little warrant season and see if things need to be done.
We can make changes, obviously, with Nino here in the LSPD. It's the BCSO that, you know, can pick or choose if they're going to play ball or not, which we need to.
That is true, unless we did something about it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I don't think we should, quote unquote, do anything about it besides talking until it comes down to putting something on paper. We should try to get them on board and explain the benefits of it and the ultimate goal. I know I've talked to a couple DCSO and they're really, I'm waiting more or less to see who's going to be sheriff, and then have a chat with you, Nino, and see how we'll approach that with them. I
like that. I think that's the right way. Otherwise, I mean, before that sheriff is picked, it's pointless, right?
Right.
I'm Thursday. Moss wants to meet with us. I'm very excited. Well, so I'm going to tell you some things. Skyfae has transferred.
To BCSO?
To BCSO.
Why?
Apparently she's wanted to for some time. She's finally decided so.
What broke the camel's back?
I think the Maxwell promotion. The inference was that I made the decision for Maxwell. This is also similar to what Trig thinks. I spoke with Moss last night. I'm fine with being the reason, right? Like, they can point their fingers at me. It's whatever. I could give a fuck about Sky. She literally just leaks PD information all the fucking day. It's a good riddance as far as I'm concerned. I have a more broader disdain, simply the way that Maxwell's promotion conversation went prior to you coming into the picture there, Turner, which from my perspective boiled down to people that do not even see her on a day-to-day basis choosing her fate, and in turn the fate of the LSPD, especially in 2 shifts. A number of officers, and I learned this yesterday, that Trig, Vivian, and keep this in the circle, right? This is a mayor conversation. I'm just, even to others in the office, let's just keep it, because this isn't the end of the world. That Trig, Stevie, and Vivian, after the announcement for Maxwell yesterday, went off duty and started working at Senior Buns, and then ended up at, like, the DOC or some shit. It was clearly bad enough because I had received text messages about some of this from non-officers. Maxwell felt a certain way. You may remember I was on the phone around this time yesterday with her. As she should. I think it's pathetic. But equally, I think part of it is Trig is just playing like fucking victim here in all this. He's being a little bitch. And I think his friends are just making him feel better. In the grand scheme of things, like, you know, it is what it is.
Making him feel better about what? He wasn't demoted, was he?
I think that's on the table now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's definitely helping that direction at this point.
Well, that's kind of the thing, right? Is as it was been portrayed to me as like Trig is making this about himself and being a little pussy baby back bitch. He was my recommendation for Ass Chief for a while, and then he started to garner health problems, which made him ineffective. He's told me, Moss, etc., that he wasn't even interested in high command as recent as like last week.
I was there for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what kind of games he's playing, but it sounds like fucking like emotional terrorism to me.
Is this some sort of Russian roulette or something? You know, like
I don't know.
Me, you know.
But like, you know, I mean, like no one's got time for that shit. You know what I'm saying? And quite frankly, Maxwell all day yesterday was carrying the PD on her back, and I see a lot of cops in there. So, you know, Sia Felicia is the way I see it.
I mean, it's been 1 day, 2 days. You got to give it time either way. You know, people are gonna have to get used to it.
Well, the crash out is, but not necessarily the problem, right? The health things and this and that. But
right, talk about Trig.
Yeah.
I mean, you got two competent, what appears to be competent, if I'll be quite frank, what appears to be competent captains now for the LSPD. And that's a huge step in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I can't speak to Sky. Sky was good when she was around me. You know, when I was captain, so I can't speak to you the way she is now. And Trig was also good when he was around. I was captain, but obviously, you know, things change over time.
I have pretty damning evidence that she was in contact with members of Hydra during a massive raid, and let them know that who was involved and what happened.
To find damning evidence, that's straight up corruption.
I know.
Why wasn't this ever brought to light?
It was, but it's one of those like Nino stirring things. There was few officers on duty. I was awake around shift 3. I went to sleep and woke up, and it was all over Twitter. And there's also her text messages got leaked a long time ago. There's but yeah, like
well, it's good that she's not going to be our problem then.
Yep.
It's unfortunate to hear.
There is, in the grand scheme of things, so I did let Maxwell know, and Moss felt the same way. I'm like, and this is kind of the problem that Radic is hitting, is that a lot of the PD for a while, even before I was in office, sort of became a friends club. That is how they move, right? And obviously LSPD's got its own of that, but it's kind of like the basis by which they keep people around or whatever. It's just, it's not so, it's not a military job-based, rank-based structure. But the reason I bring that up is,
go for it,
is that I can recognize what Radic is going with, is they don't know him. They're not gonna, they don't need to care about him because they know they can find a way around him. And what I told Maxwell was, even though I don't think that some of our command dipped on her after the promotion, and it's a nasty, disgusting look, right? They could have went after Trig afterwards, not before the meeting ended, right? Like, he's not a fucking child that's about to, like, jump in front of a car, right? Is that what it is doing for her as a captain is showing her who's here for the LSPD in the county and who's here for themselves. And that while all of this is not necessarily a reflection of her, though very obviously some of it is that it is now giving her opportunity to look around her and empower those people around her and build up her own command structure. So if people want to go cry, want to go like fucking transfer over, and trust me, there's been a lot of BCSO transfers over the past 6 months. Yeah, you know what happens to them? You never see them again. 9 out of 10 times. And there's a, and most of those transfers are people that have already given up on San Andreas anyways. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, she's got to build up her own circle, right?
Yep.
And and this just helps her identify who's there for her and who's not. And also to touch on the friendship kind of circle, that's going to happen no matter what, right? People are going to work together, they fight together, they live together. They're together. They're going to create friendships. But when it comes to dealing with, I don't know if you want to call it some sort of mutiny or some sort of what's the word for it? If they're going to try to put their foot down and stand up to a sheriff, that's personally when the sheriff should have been a bit more iron-fisted and started breaking that up. But I mean, friendships will happen. These circles will happen. They just got to understand that they're not.
It shouldn't be above their job or their role, though.
Right. They're not going to be running the department just based off of that.
Yep, agreed. All right.
But
well,
that was quite eye-opening hearing it from his point of view, huh?
Yeah.
I gotta say, personally, I've heard about a lot of the stuff going on, and we've had our own experiences in the cabinet. But actually, hearing somebody who was in the sheriff position just come out and say all of that, I was a tad bit flabbergasted. I wasn't expecting it to be so easy for him to say all that.
Yeah.
Very curious to see where things are going to go with the DCSO once the new sheriff comes in.
They keep having to replace their people up there, so not everything's so.
I hope McNulty gets it up there. I think McNulty will sort things out.
I'm actually I don't mind McNulty or Aspen. You know what I mean? I know she can be protective, but at minimum, both of them are communicative, at least. You know what I mean?
I don't remember. The name sounds familiar. I don't remember if she was around or not when I was the captain.
I don't think so.
No?
Under sheriff right now. Yeah. I will say that, well, they both are in their own ways. McNulty is way too much skip admin, chase adrenaline. Aspen can be a little more like, oh, my babies in DCSO. But at minimum, as a upgrade point, is that they can at least control their department. But equally, I don't think that they hold petty grudges beyond a day or two. You know what I mean? So that's something that I can work with at least.
I've talked to McNulty, and obviously he was around when I was captain. I asked him, truthfully, how things were working, and he's not much of the politics guy, he said, which makes sense for him, but he's very much on board for making LSPD and DCSO work together and provide the public safety that they should be, not this petty shit that they got going on about cuffing people.
Yeah,
I think he'd be a good fit. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Obviously, I don't know everybody else too well, but
the only challenge with McNulty, and this is just me weighing, right, because there is no perfect option, is that in the past, McNulty didn't believe that the jurisdictions are a thing. I don't know if that mental has changed, but that can be.
I talked to him, seems like it was gone, but.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been a minute for me. Bear in mind, since we've had
the way he mentioned it to me, and we only had about a 5 or 10 minute conversation there, but was that he thinks it's bullshit, and we're all out there. It doesn't matter what uniform we're wearing. We're doing the same job, and it shouldn't be this whole tug of war back and forth. It's just how I perceived it from him. So
yeah,
I think it's a good view to have. I'm not trying to sell him or something as a
no,
sheriff.
No,
hope,
absolutely.
Hope somebody like that gets put into position.
I agree. Look, I'm cool with both of them. I like Belle too. That's another one that kind of stood out for me. Though the only thing with Belle is she's also not. I also don't see her around enough. So, well, she might be good. She might also be, I don't know, like not around often.
That's problematic.
Yeah, it is. That's always been a tough one. I mean, but then again, it's also with the justices. 2 out of 6 ever show up.
everybody needs breaks at times, but it's got to be limited to some extent when you're in positions of power.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I am gonna go put some final touches on some things, on documents and whatnot. I am gonna mostly focus on that. I'm gonna be back on Thursday. I'm not gonna be around super long. But I do want to start doing a joint cabinet meeting, perhaps starting Friday. I think I'm going to do it around the time the DOJ meetings take place. I think we're going to have a DOJ meeting at 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And I'll let you guys know whether we'll do the cabinet meeting before or after. It's likely going to be after. Or maybe a short one before and then maybe one after or something like that. That way we can
join. You're talking about with BCSO? Or, I'm sorry, with county?
Yeah, it's going to be our office, the Blaine County office, the DOJ, and SAMA. So there's supposed to be a weekly recurring meeting where certain things are brought up. The general demeanor is that it should be me talking, Mumbles talking, a person from the justices, and the SAMA head. And this is so that more people can attend, but voices are limited to allow things from moving forward. Right. Yep. Historically we've been trying to set the tone for that. Archie has been taking notes, but the DOJ keeps skipping outside of Arcadia and Falconer. And also just be prepared that that some of the justices disregard things the state officials say, so it's kind of weird, for lack of a better word.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's sometimes they forget why. I don't know. You'll see. You
said Friday at
3 p.m. It may get moved to 4, but I'll send the actual schedule out.
Okay. And then we're meeting with Moss 6 on Thursday.
Correct. And I need to cook up that shit. I know I keep putting it in the background, but
that needs to be there for that meeting, I would say.
Agreed. Yeah. Even if it becomes iterative, that document. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is Michael supposed to be back today or tomorrow?
He was gonna be back tomorrow. He mentioned he's gonna be possibly back today, but that might have been his flights coming in on Tuesday, and then
Got a day or two to unpack and de-stress and then get back in. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
That's right. All right.
Nino, so are you gonna be able to make it if they have with the material hub? Are you gonna be able to meet with them today if they can make the 4:30 to 5 p.m. Eastern window to meet with you?
We don't know if Michael's gonna be here.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm down to meet him at 4. I mean, it's in 40 minutes, right?
Well, they said that Cloak said she could be around 4:30 to 5 p.m. But they wanted the scope of the discussion they want to talk about is basically how to start using the court center and stuff like that.
Let's do it at 4:30.
Okay.
Well, we can't until Michael's here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can meet, talk to her, see if we still want to meet. Just let them know Michael's been on a business trip. Oh, I brought in, oh my God, Frankie into the court center. Frankie VDM, the mechanic shop.
Yeah, we talked about him the other day. Okay, yeah.
So he needs to be brought up to speed and such. But I think we need to redirect that Cloak meeting. Let's see if we can do it 5 p.m. on Thursday. And let her know that I apologize, but if Michael's not here, it's going to be unproductive.
Okay. I can reschedule that.
And because there was possible drama between Michael and them, I'd rather talk to him before. Michael's more important than Mopek.
I'll just say this: the key staff for the court center stuff aren't available today. I'll leave it at that for them.
Let them know that they're people on business trips and they didn't get back soon enough, so they know it's not like we're just skipping randomly. It's like they're just physically unavailable, right?
Yeah. So, okay,
but
I can do that.
Have Cloak give me a call as well.
Sure, I could do that.
Here, I'm gonna send her a text. All right. I'm gonna run off and I'm gonna start cooking because I want to get as much as I can done today, including starting on this LSPD document. All right.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Do you need anything from me?
Calls, head to my apartment and get on reading some stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm about to big one.
All right. All right, guys.
All right, y'all. Have a good day.
Let us know if anything.
Y'all take care.